happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. You guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely going to want to see this one. So we got massive outrage breaking out within the Democratic Party as television host Stephen A. Smith calls out the party for their hidden agenda, guys. I'm excited to get into this one, so we're going to hop straight into it. All I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
How do you explain it?
It was hard listening to him, to be quite honest with you. I respect the former governor of Virginia, Mr. McCullough. I mean, I know he did, in a lot of people's eyes, he did a great job. And I'm certainly not here to impugn his record, his resume, his reputation in any way. I just felt that what he was articulating was almost as if he was living in a cocoon or something, where you were talking about what you feel and what you would do, but you weren't talking about what the Democratic Party had been doing. And for quite some time, I might add, it wasn't just 2020, it wasn't just 2024 that they were doing some of the things that they were doing, where they were ignoring inflation, they were ignoring the price of goods, they were ignoring the quality of life that a vast majority of American citizens were experiencing in this country. But you're talking about violence in the streets and what have you, and people getting arrested and getting out of jail the same day. You're talking about sanctuary cities and people and homelessness ravaging our nation and a lot of things that they weren't paying attention to. There were a plethora of things that the Democratic Party was ignoring because they were stuck in their own thing, basically trying to guilt you into supporting them. When I listen to him, I'm listening to a man who said, look at my record, look at what worked for us, look at the quote-unquote Bill Clinton model, although as black Americans, we should always have some issue with Bill Clinton because of the crime bill, you know, and how that led to mass incarceration or assisted in continuing mass incarceration of African-American men in particular, and we understand that, but there were a lot of things that he did good. Obviously, he departed from office with a surplus. He focused on the economy through the help of Newt Gingrich and the right in Congress and what have you. They worked together and they got things done, and they showed us the importance of compromise and going across the aisle and doing what was in the best interest of American citizens by showing there's a willingness to compromise, to work together, and to make sure that you're putting more money in people's pockets and you're assisting in keeping the streets safe. Now, when you're doing those two things, and that's the kind of thing that Governor McCullough was talking about, I get you. I understand that. That's not what we were hearing in 2024. So when I'm abhorring or lamenting the state of affairs within the Democratic Party, I'm basically talking about what they were focusing on. They may be doing things on the state and local level and may deserve an abundance of credit for it. But that's not the message that we were receiving. And you know why we weren't receiving that message? Because they didn't think they could sell it to us. They didn't think that that would be good enough. They wanted to make sure, oh, we're going to point to racism. We're going to guilt you into voting for us. We're not going to talk about the things that we're doing positively. We're going to talk about what the other side is doing negatively to engage in fear mongering to help you through fear factor go our way instead of theirs. And it didn't work this time. And to be quite honest with you, even though I might not like some of the things I'm seeing from the Trump administration thus far, the bottom line is I'm glad it didn't work, because I think for the longest time, black Americans have played the role of suckers to the Democratic Party. They've guilted us into voting for them, making us feel as if we're going to be ostracized, creating division within our own communities or what have you to get our vote, instead of saying to us, hey, this is what we will do for you, and it will work better than what they're offering. That's why it was a bit difficult for me to listen to him, not because he was wrong with what he was saying. I'm talking about Governor McCullough here. I'm talking about what he talked about, and what he alluded to is the kind of message we should be craving in this day and age. But unfortunately, there are not enough folks, particularly on the left, capable of giving it to us straight. They think they have to engage in bullying and fear mongering in order to get us to see their way of thinking.
You know, it was an interesting moment in the town hall. You were talking to President Trump. He was trying to make the point to you that he got more black votes than Republicans normally get. And he got more than he did the time before. And there was a little bit of confusion. He was talking about like Harlem and riots and stuff like that. That's what people picked up on. But what I wanted to ask you about is he really does seem to believe that there is a moment here for Republicans to grab not just Latinos. People misunderstand Latinos as a demographic, even more so than they misunderstand the black community, as if every black is the same. But that there's an opportunity that black voters don't have to belong to Democrats. Do you believe that?
I do believe that. It's going to take more convincing, but I believe that he's touching on something that can't be ignored. I heard him loud and clear talking about the blacks and how the blacks love him so much, and historically black colleges and university. I mean, it was, listening to him, it was funny and uncomfortable all rolled up into one. But it doesn't mean that we negate recognizing the validity of his point. Remember when he was campaigning in 2015, 2016, he basically looked at black America and said, what do you have to lose? He was basically pointing to the Democratic Party and how for so long, so many promises have been made, but ultimately what you're doing is trying to encourage us to lean on a party and lean on government. And oftentimes I use Major League Baseball as an analogy to highlight this, because with baseball, even though they've made inroads and they work diligently to improve the black populace within its sport, one of the things that I've done, Chris, over the years in talking about Major League Baseball is I've said to people, unlike the NBA where you got 1 year out of high school and you can go pro, unlike college football where you can play 2 years or so, 3 years, and then you go to play professional football. In Major League Baseball, you can get picked up as a teenager, you can get picked up later. But it's AA, AAA, etc. that you got to go through, and then you hope that somebody recognizes your talents and are willing to, materialize that into something beneficial for you. But it involves more trusting of the system. And that's not something black Americans are inclined to do in any system. We don't like to trust the system because the system has hurt us as a community. I just looked at the stat involving the poverty rate in the United States of America. Do you know that from 1965 to 1973, the poverty rate had gone from about 17.3% to about 11.2%, Chris? But since 1973, it's fluctuated between 11 and 15% since 1973. In other words, it hasn't changed. How many times do I tell you, as my brother from another mother, that guess what? When white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia. It's always worse for us. So Trump comes along and he says, this is what the situation is. No matter what they're telling you, guess what? Your situation doesn't seem to change. The poverty rate doesn't seem to change. Education and its troubles doesn't seem to change, which is why you got the whole charter school things and vouchers and all of that stuff. Crime in the streets doesn't change, okay? The economy as it pertains to how it affects you, it doesn't change. No matter where you turn, no matter where you look, there's always somebody doing better off than you guys, no matter what they say, no matter how much they ask you to depend on them. And then when we go to the Democrats and we say, look, these are the facts. What do you have to say about that? We know about the New Deal. We know, we know what Lyndon B. Johnson did. We know about Civil Rights, Voting Rights Act, okay? We know about our Fair Housing Act. We know about all of these things. But as you look over the last 30, 40, 50 years, what's your new message? What do you have to say? It never changes. It's them. They don't care about you. They're racist, et cetera, et cetera. Even if it were true, and I'm not here to say it's true in every case because I don't fall for that nonsense, the fact remains, at some point you're going to say, you know what? That's letting you off the hook. And then with this latest stuff, with the whole woke culture, cancel culture, transgender issues, and all of this other stuff, you got to remember, along the way, you forgot about us. And why? Because you know you have our vote. Because that's been the case since the mid-'60s. The GOP knows for the most part they don't. And as a result, black America are the one disenfranchised group in the United States of America. Some black people have risen up and said, enough of this nonsense. We might as well try something new because how is this working for us? That's how we look at it. That's how a lot of us are looking at it. And that's why our eyes are opening. And as somebody who talked to a lot of black athletes, a lot of black folks, before he ever began running for president, I told you that about Trump. He kind of knows this because it's the kind of message he received, which I believe played a role in encouraging him to run back in 2015, 2016.
I see where you're coming at this from. It's a very intelligent perspective. He's certainly manifesting it. And, on the culture wars thing, Dave Chappelle said it very well also. Yeah, he was trying to get himself out of a hole of making jokes that people didn't like, but he said, at the end of the day, maybe I make fun of you because I'm jealous about how much recognition and how much attention the transgender community has gotten, and the blacks are still fighting for that level of recognition and cultural currency. It was an interesting point, and I take yours as well. We are in a period of change. The question is, who will seize the mantle of having the better idea? That's who's going to win.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness. I see why the Dems are upset now. We've got television host Stephen A. Smith coming out, calling out the Democratic Party, saying black voters have been suckers to the Democratic Party for way too long. I could agree with that, of course, but I just don't know if I can agree with Stephen A. Smith. I feel like this dude will do and say anything when it comes to being a favorable talking point. I already know they're probably lighting him up in the comment section on this one, but I definitely got to agree. You know, I feel like black voters have kind of been prisoned to the Democratic Party for way too long. I know me, at least, growing up, seeing, you know, everyone in my family, for the most part, that I've ran into and we spoke on politics, they were Democratic Party this, Democratic Party that. You need to, you know what I mean, align yourself with the Democratic Party. That's who's going to help you out, benefit you the most. They've done the most for black Americans. But then upon doing a little bit more research, when I got into my early 20s, I started to realize more and more, especially when I got into doing these videos, that Democratic Party hasn't done anything for us. Nothing at all. So why not? Like Stephen A. Smith said back in 2016, you know, a shot in the dark. All right, Trump, what else do we have to lose? We don't have much to lose. They haven't done much for us to begin with, so we might as well vote this new figure in. Voted Donald Trump in. He had, you know, done great things. He started to turn this ship around for us. Then come the 2024 elections, you know, this guy's back up to bat again. And we're like, his last shot around, he didn't do too bad. He didn't lie to us. The transparency was there, and he actually was there, not just to benefit the black community. And I feel like that's a mentality we got to get out of. There is more races than just the black community in the United States of America. I mean, our president's ultimately there to benefit all community. If he's benefiting the entire country, I mean, the blacks are going to get benefits as well, you know? And that's the point where I feel like we got to stop stressing it so much, like, black community is so entitled to these special privileges, or we're supposed to be getting more than other, right? Like, I can't wait till that goes away. And once we realize that we're not entitled to like special privileges or getting extra things, I feel like, you know, our mindset will change. The shift, the dynamic will be a lot different, especially when it comes to looking at who you're picking as your political party, your candidate. You know, if you see them and they're only pandering towards the black community, saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Kamala Harris was a big one on that. She kept saying she was going to do this, a bunch of false promises, empty promises, saying she's going to do this, that, and another. But we've seen her on side of Joe Biden, slow Biden, for 4 years and didn't do anything. She was the vice president, the second commander in chief. It didn't make sense to me. Okay, now she's coming out of the woodwork saying she's going to do this, that, and another, but she hasn't done anything. She sat on her hands for 4 years. I don't know. Donald Trump, that's why he wanted a mandate, because he came out and he let us know what he was going to do. He wasn't sitting here bashing the left, constantly saying that, you know, Kamala Harris, they're going to do this, or they're terrible, their policies. No, he was just saying what he could do to turn this ship around, make America great again. And that right there sold us. Sold a lot of Americans. It wasn't just black Americans. It was historic votes, you know, all across the nation, turning states that were historically blue, districts that were historically blue, flipping them red, because Donald Trump just had a common sense agenda, guys. But that was Stephen A. Smith on Chris Cuomo, guys. Definitely hop in the comment section. Comments are open. I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking about this one. Also, make sure you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next one week.